Thank you so much for joining us today on episode number 130 of the Real Life Runners podcast. We are all runners. We've talked about how we are runners even on the days that we don't run. But sometimes when we miss a running day, we tend to place some very harsh judgments on ourselves. So this is a PSA episode for you to stop being so hard on yourselves and stop beating yourself up if you happen to miss a day of running.
This is the Real Life Runners podcast, and we're your hosts, Kevin and Angie Brown. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now let's get running.
Okay, so we had an episode planned for today, and we decided to ditch that and push it to another week because we put up a post in the Facebook tribe this week and asked people to fill in the blank. And the post was very simple. It said, when I miss a run, I feel blank. And the answers that came in were all so harsh.
There's a variety of answers. I think they fall into like two major categories.
True. They weren't all so harsh, but a lot of them were just very like, you know, we just felt like when we were reading these answers, like I felt like we needed an emergency podcast episode to just address it. I
just felt like everybody needed a hug. Like it's going to be okay.
That too.
Like, did you miss your run today? Do you need a hug?
Yeah.
Like it's going to be okay.
We're going to send you a virtual hug right now. So go ahead and put both hands, like one hand across and the other hand across, and give yourself a little squeeze. And that's coming from us. And anybody that's ever gotten a hug from me, I think is going to tell you it's a pretty darn good one.
It's a good one.
I took pride in my hugs.
Yes, I know. And you taught me how to hug correctly.
Not correctly, but
correctly
improved. We definitely had to work on improving Kevin's hug quality when we first started dating.
And now I can hug. So the responses kind of fell into two major categories. There were people who, in my opinion, were incredibly hard on themselves, like super judgy, like I'm a slacker, that was the worst day ever, I'm never going to be able to run again. I mean, it went so extreme to the negative. And then there was a group of people that were sort of like, I just feel off.
Yeah.
I feel weird. I feel like something's not right about my day. And there's valid reasons for both of these. Well, I think there's more valid. I connect to the second group, so I think I know where that group's coming, but I can see the first group. I can see where they're coming from.
Right.
Is running is, especially once you start accepting the runner identity, then if you don't run, it's just like, oh man, I've done it. I've ruined it. I had my new identity and I've blown it. Right.
And so, you know, that first group, that was a lot of like disappointed, miserable, a slacker, frustrated.
Failure came up.
Failure, anxious. Like there was a lot of anxiety surrounding
that one too.
Missing the run. That was a very common word that people tend to use, like anxiety, anxious, and that kind of thing. And I can understand where these things are coming from also. Like you said, they're real feelings and they're valid because that is the way you feel. But I want us to just take a look at them right now and actually say, okay, where are these feelings coming from? Are these valid feelings? Should I be feeling this way? Or is there maybe a more productive way for me to feel when I miss a run? Is there a different way for me to look at this? Because for you to feel anxious and, you know, fat and lazy and a failure for missing one run is a little extreme, okay?
Yeah. I feel fat and lazy was a good one because it's like, what was on the schedule? Like, well, 4 miles. All right, so that's going to burn, you know, about 400-ish calories. You know, I mean, it's a ballpark. But to lose that day is not just suddenly going to make you be 20 pounds heavier.
I know, but the thing is that it's the mentality that it's coming from that we have to think about more. And like, you know, you've never been overweight in your life. And I don't know if any of these people that have said these things have been. I know I have been. And it is hard because when you are in a place that you finally feel like you're taking care of yourself, you're doing the things that you need to do, and you miss a day, you don't want to then spiral downwards from there. And I think that's where a lot of this is coming from.
That one off day is the start of a very, very slippery slope.
Because it can be for some people. You know, people have seen it before. They may have experienced that for themselves. You know, like if they got injured or if something happened, they got really sick, they might have spiraled down and lost not just one day, but multiple days or weeks or months once and then found it very hard to get back into it again. So, it's bringing up almost these like traumatic memories in some people, I think, these times that they don't want to go back to. And so that's causing an anxiety and anxious feeling in them. And then for others, it could be other things, it could be just like you said, like that failure, that just lack of like not being good enough because I missed this run. And I just encourage you guys, and I want you to know that, first of all, thank you so much for everybody that shared. And I'm not pointing any one specific person out in this episode. So if I happen to say the word that you used, I don't even know that you used it. Like, I don't have your name in front of me. I'm not thinking of you specifically right now. And I'm certainly not judging you, okay? Because that is definitely not a helpful thing for me to do, for us to do. Like, we're not judging you at all. And I want you to know that your feelings are valid. And we're just here in this episode trying to help you reframe a couple things, okay? Maybe instead of looking at missing that one run so negatively and beating yourself up for it, because quite honestly, that's not going to do you any good in the long run. That's not going to help you to improve as a runner if you just continuously beat yourself up. So the point of this episode is not to make you feel bad. It's not to make you feel judged. I'm so happy that you shared with us these things. And this episode is really more just to help you reframe this, and also just to help you maybe look at this in a different way. Yeah,
a different perspective. And like you said, there's certainly not judgment coming from us, but a lot of these things of I'm this, I'm a failure, I'm a slacker, and all these things, it's personal name calling, and that's still judgment. And it's not like, we're certainly not here pointing a finger at you,
right?
But
are you pointing a finger at yourself?
Right. That's what I want to say is just pause for a second and realize, were you in fact just name calling yourself? Mm-hmm. Like, if the whole judgment thing is bringing stuff up, we did an episode just a few back on judgment, and people loved the episode. How much of that judgment is coming directed towards yourself? Like, it's one thing if you can really try and get a handle on trying to, not be judgment of other people. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. But how harshly are you criticizing yourself for any little break, any little slip? Mm-hmm. Because if you miss a day and you're like, oh, that's it, now I can't run again, and it's gonna spiral, and I'm just gonna never be able to run again, that mentality is going to make it really hard for you to get back, because you're telling yourself that you're not going to be able to come back. Whereas it's just a day. Mm-hmm. It's just one missed day. You can come back the next day. Are you sick? Maybe it's a week, and then you're going to be able to come back.
Mm-hmm. Because that's who you are. Because you are a runner, and runners are resilient. Runners do come back, and that's how you need to start thinking of this. Like, stop being so darn hard on yourself. That's really what it comes down to, is give yourself some grace. And what if your best friend or your best running friend missed a day? What would you say to that person? Would you beat that person up and tell them that they're fat and they're lazy and they're a slacker and they're worthless and they're never going to get back into running again? Like, I highly doubt it. Like, I'm about 99% sure, considering I haven't met all of you guys before, that...
But wouldn't that be a cool meeting?
I would love to, of course.
Lots of hugs.
Oh, I can't wait to meet our listeners in person, and we're definitely planning those things for the upcoming year. We definitely want to start meeting more of you guys in person. But what would your best friend say to you? What would your mom say to you? What would your best running friend say to you if you missed a day? Would they be speaking to you the same way that you're speaking to yourself? And I think that's a really good filter to start putting on.
Yeah, or what would your kids say to you? Because in all likelihood, they're not going to be like, oh man, Mom, you ruined it today. Mm-hmm. There was one, we just had the Olympic trials here in the U.S., and it was the woman who finished, I believe, 6th. And she had a picture from like the post-race tent of her 2 little ones. Mm-hmm. And, she said in the post-race tent, there were some tears and some crying. And then like the lines from her little kids was just like, Mom, 6th place is pretty high. I know you didn't win, want a lick of my lollipop? Like, that was the progression. It was sort of like, you did pretty good. I know it might not have been what you wanted. And then they were just trying to help. And like, the picture is just adorable because the kids got like the sucker that they've been going at for, 26 miles. Mm-hmm. And they just wanted to make the person feel better. There was no judgment from the kids because mom didn't make the Olympic team. She ran as fast as she could, and she's still mom. All they wanted to do was make her feel better.
Right, exactly. So there was, the one group of people that were very, were using some harsher words on themselves. And then, like you said, there was kind of a second group that kind of described themselves as being out of sort or just feeling off or unsettled about your day. So, for those people, is running a big stress reliever for you? Like, does, on the other hand, does running kind of help you to center your day? And that's kind of the people that you said you felt more connected to.
Right. Like, is running an anchor for your day? Like, it starts my schedule. It starts my routine, especially for people who run in the morning. Mm-hmm. Like, did you oversleep and miss the run in the morning? And now it's not that you're beating yourself up over the day, but you just don't feel like your day started correctly. So you always just feel a little bit off. And then you're trying to look at your day and be like, do I have time to try and slide a run in somewhere during the day? So then it's not following your normal routine because you keep trying to like rearrange your schedule and see how it is. And maybe if you miss it in the morning, instead of throwing your whole schedule off and trying to figure out if you can sneak it in somewhere. And I mean, sometimes that works. Sometimes you can look at it and be like, yep, I'm going to fit it. I'm just going to fit it right here. Mm-hmm. And other times you look at your schedule and you go, nope, I'm not going to be able to run that day. And you have to get past the off feeling and just be like, it's just not going to happen that day. And I think we're going to keep getting into that a little bit more as the episode goes along. But having missed a morning run just throw off the entire rest of your day is really going to hurt your performance in all other areas of your life. It messes with you. Let your mind be free of that. That wasn't a failure that you didn't run in the morning. It was just a missed run. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like that book, the Eat the Frog book.
Yes, Eat the Frog.
So for those of you that might not be familiar with the concept, so there's a saying out there in the personal development world and the business world about eating the frog. So the idea comes from, like, I think Benjamin Franklin or some sort of philosopher a long time ago that basically said, if you knew that you had to eat a frog every single day, then wouldn't it be better for you to just do it first thing in the morning and get it over with? Because if you didn't do it first thing in the morning and get it over with, it would kind of be hanging over your head all day long. So no matter what you're doing throughout the course of the day, you know that you have to eat that frog at some point in time. And so you can't really focus, you can't really give your attention to the things that you need to do because all you keep thinking about is that frog. So yes, that your run can kind of be looked at that way. And that's one of the reasons we like to advocate people running in the morning, because it does tend to get it done with, kind of set your day off on the right foot and focus you for the day, and also just help you as you go throughout the day. But what happens if you miss that, right? Are you trying to look and see all day long where you can fit that in? Is it kind of just hanging over your head, or are you able to just accept that, you know what, today I'm not going to do that? And maybe that's eating the frog that day. Maybe eating
the acceptance.
Yeah, maybe eating the frog that day is not the actual run, but it's actually saying, okay, I'm not going to run today, and just making the decision and accepting it.
Yeah, I think the acceptance, I think probably for a lot of our listening audience, the acceptance of, all right, guess today's not going to have a run in it, is eating the frog. Because I really feel as though most of the people listening right now enjoy going out on their run. Yeah. That's not the like, oh God, I've got to get that done so it's not still hanging over me. Running should be a joyful activity. Like, you should enjoy. That should be like, great, I got up and was able to run at the beginning of the day. And so the tricky thing is, when it goes away, to not let that bog you down and wreck the rest of the day, to just move past that event. It's not a failure. It's not a letdown. It's just something that happened. It's not good or bad. It happened, and now you have to move on because you have the rest of the day, and you got to bring yourself to the rest of the day, not yourself as, oh, I guess I didn't run today. Like, no one wants that person. They want you. They want you at your best. That's who you need to bring for the rest of the day, and sometimes that means that you have to say, well, I didn't run. Maybe I'll run tomorrow. because that's what you're going to do.
And not maybe I'll run tomorrow, like I'm going to run tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think it's very hard to not pass judgment on yourself. Like I find it very difficult for me not to judge myself. Like I have become much better at not judging other people, but I find it even harder to not judge myself. And I think that other people also fall into that category. And once we get to that point where we stop judging ourselves, it also helps us not to judge others in that way also.
Well, it's so much easier to judge yourself because you don't have to say it out loud.
Yeah.
It's silent in your head. I'm a slacker.
Yeah, right. So instead of doing that, let's talk about some of the ways that you can reframe this and make this maybe a more positive thing.
All right, so there's a few different angles for this. One, let's accept that running requires off days. I mean, there's the basic principle of hard days and easy days that you kind of go back and forth. So, you need recovery days built into your calendar. It may be during the course of the week you have a hard day and then 2 easy days and another hard day. Maybe it just goes back and forth, hard, easy, hard, easy. I don't know what your schedule is. But there should be some balance back and forth because recovery days are required. And so maybe that day that you're not running is now a recovery day. Like there's other days that you don't run. Maybe you've got a strength day put in that is a non-running strength only day. So you're still a runner on that day. You still feel good about yourself on that day because you were going for strength. You still feel good on the planned off recovery day because that was into your schedule. So just realize that your schedule already probably has off days built into it that you're completely okay with.
Right. And then sometimes, depending on if life decides to give you an unplanned off day, you might be able to rearrange that schedule. And so if you're supposed to have a rest day on Friday and Wednesday you don't get your run in, make Wednesday your off day and run on Friday. Like you can rearrange your schedule appropriately if you have that flexibility and if you have that resiliency in yourself. Like to instead of just saying, oh shoot, like there goes today, like I guess I'm just not going to do that. Like, okay, let's figure out what we can do. Let's look at the calendar and see maybe what can you move around to try to get that in. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But so, what if you actually just need a break? Like what if you need either a physical break or a mental break? Maybe you haven't taken an off day in a while and your body and mind is actually telling you to break the schedule. Like you slept in and accidentally, you missed your alarm and you slept in. Like, was that an accident or was that your mind and your body actually saying, nope, you need a recovery day today?
Yeah, 100%.
Subconsciously.
Yeah, last winter in marathon buildup, I accidentally overslept many times. And it was because my body and mind were well aware of what I had done on the previous 3 days. Yep. And it thought, you know what? You didn't get enough sleep last night, so you're going to accidentally oversleep your alarm. And sometimes I was able to slide a run in during lunch, and sometimes I could get it in after school. But sometimes that was just an unplanned off day. And I got pretty good at accepting that my body needed an off day. That's why I slept right through my alarm, which is literally my watch buzzing on my wrist. Like it's hard to sleep through that thing. But if I did, there was a reason for it.
Right. And just remind yourself that it's okay to take a day off. Like you will not lose all of your fitness in a day. Sometimes even, like Kevin said, maybe ask yourself, like, is my life so busy right now because maybe the universe is trying to force an off day on me? Like maybe I am so stressed right now and I am trying to do this. I'm trying to fit in all of these things. And if I ran today, that's just going to break me down. Maybe that's your body avoiding injury or avoiding sickness. If you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, that could just push you right over the edge of something. So maybe the universe, your subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it, God is forcing an off day on you by filling your schedule, by making you sleep in and miss your alarm, that because they know, the universe, God, your subconscious, like all of these things know what's better for you versus you and your conscious brain saying, I'm just going to power through.
Yeah, because the subconscious is always just trying to protect you. So if it kind of overruled the conscious mind and said, you know what, we're going to sleep in today, it did it for a reason. It's trying to keep you safe. It sensed that the illness was coming on and thought, an extra hour in bed is going to be a better choice here. And so it overruled and it made you you sleep in. And then you look at your schedule, you're like, don't worry, I'm going to be able to fit this in at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I've got it. And then something just dropped on your schedule at 2 o'clock. The world is telling you, not today. And that's okay. Accept that that's the answer. Don't freak out and be like, no, I've got to get this in somewhere, because all you're doing is making this off day a stress-filled day.
Right.
Whereas the world is trying to tell you, nope, it's an off day. It's supposed to be recovery. And if you spend the entire time all full of anxiety and negative talk, that's not a recovery day. That's you telling yourself a lot of negative words and completely stressed out to the highest levels. Hormones are going all over the place inside your body. None of this is helping you actually recover, which is probably what you needed in the first place.
Yeah. If you ever think about this, like, it can be kind of crazy when I know there were a lot of these stories after 9/11, for example, that came out, right? About people that like missed the train, and they've never missed the train. They've worked in the, downtown New York City for 25 years, and they've never been late to work. They've never missed the train. And for some reason that day they missed the train, or for some reason that day something else crazy happened. They got in a car accident, like on their way to work, and then they weren't in the city when that happened. Yeah. Like, there are all these, things of, you can call it fate, you can call it whatever you want, you can call it, but some sort of higher power, something that's bigger than you is trying to prevent this from you. So maybe that's the case, and maybe that's not the case. You can choose what you want to believe, but what if that is the case? Like, what if there's something that's trying to keep you from that? It's like, why didn't you leave the house 15 minutes early, and then all of a sudden you're caught in traffic and there was an accident that just happened 15 minutes earlier? Like, who knows if you would have been in that place in that accident, right? Like, there are some times that things just work synchronistically to keep you safe.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there to help keep you safe. And sometimes these things that seem to be working against you, like, oh man, so I just missed that light. It was a red light, and oh, there's so much traffic, and there's never traffic on this road. And yeah, it was supposed to be there.
Right.
And it's weird to say to yourself it's supposed to be there. I know it's a little out there and being like,
it's
really?
A little in the woo-woo.
Traffic was supposed to happen this morning.
Yeah.
That accident was supposed to make me late for this thing that doesn't seem right. But what's the worst thing that could happen if you believe that it was supposed to happen?
Right.
Like, there's not a lot of negative from saying this is supposed to happen, from accepting that whatever the circumstances are exactly how they're supposed to play out for you. Mm-hmm. And so then...
that it couldn't have happened any other way.
Right. So then there is no negative thing. There is simply what's happening. There are just the circumstances around you. They're not good or bad. They are just the circumstances around you. That's the world that you're living in. And then based off of those circumstances, you make your choices about what the next action is that you're taking.
Right. You can simply choose to just observe what is happening. Like, oh, I missed my run today. And then you can choose to place a judgment on that. That makes me blank. That means that I am lazy. That means that I am, disappointed, miserable, frustrated, anxious, whatever word you want to put in there. You can choose to put that judgment on. But is that judgment doing you any good? Or you can choose to say, okay, I missed my run today. Now, can I fit it in? If not, am I supposed to have an off day today? Like, you can choose to look at it in a different way.
All right. So if you've come around and you're like, all right, well, this is going to be an off day, but it's an unplanned off day. What am I supposed to do with myself today? One, you're probably busy. That's why you weren't able to sneak that run in any other place. But as busy as you are, I want rule number one on what to do on an unplanned off day to be relax. To just chill for a second, because stressing out all day long is going to prevent you from getting the benefits of this brand new recovery day that popped up for you.
Woohoo!
Like, I was talking to one of the sprinters on the track team, and he goes, Coach Brown, is a hard day today? And I'm like, did you have a really hard day yesterday? Well, no. So, and he's like, oh, okay. And then he was trying to like figure out what the pattern was. He goes, oh, I thought it was hard, hard, easy, hard, hard. I'm like, that just sounds like hard, easy, exhaustion, broken. Like that's what I'm hearing off of that. Like, it needs to go back and forth. And I was trying to explain to him the concept that recovery is when you actually gain the benefits of your really hard workout. And I mean, he's a high school sophomore, so like he was sort of confused by the whole idea, but I'm like, no, recovery days are super important. You can't just push every day. It doesn't ever work. Like it'll work for a little while, but eventually you're going to plateau. And after that, if you keep trying to just force your way through the plateau, you're broken. So if you've got this unplanned off day, take it for the recovery day that it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then after you've taken that deep breath and kind of relaxed and all right, let's take a look now. Okay. Check in with your goals and your plan. Maybe you need a strength day. Maybe you're able to, maybe you can't get a run in for some reason, but you can fit in a really short strength circuit. Maybe you could even do that at work on your lunch break. There are a lot of really good strength exercises that don't require equipment, that don't require a lot of space, that you could just do in your office or in the break room, depending on what your work environment looks like.
Or you can do a plank between two students' desks. It's really awkward.
And show off.
No, people totally walk into my classroom in the middle of it because my floor is dirty, but the top of the desks are not bad. So I plank between the two desks, and a kid walked in one time and they're like, Mr. Ram, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm planking. What are you doing?
You were like in an empty classroom?
I was in an empty classroom.
Oh.
It was my lunch break and I was planking between two desks because I was definitely not putting my hands on the floor of my classroom. It's filthy.
That's so funny. That's so funny. So yeah, so there are things that you could do. You throw some burpees in, like maybe not on the desks unless they're
Maybe
like braced against the wall or something. But like burpees are really good and planks are really good and push-ups and squats. Like you don't need any equipment for any of these body weight types of exercises, but at least you're going to get that little adrenaline burst and that little endorphin rush that helps you feel like, okay, you know what? At least I got something in today. Like it takes very little time, but it gives you that little sense of accomplishment that you didn't just quote unquote waste the day.
Yeah, and if you're really worried that you're going to fall off the track and that this is the first of the rest of your life that you're not going to work out again, then putting that short little strength section is a really nice thing.
Yeah.
And maybe you can find a coworker that instead of going to get a cup of coffee with them, the two of you just, squat together.
Or go take a walk outside.
Sure.
Like if the weather's decent and you can just go out and take a walk on your lunch break, or maybe depending on what you do for work, if you have a phone call or a conference call, maybe you can make that a walking conference call. Like, there are different ways that you can just get in some sort of activity. Maybe it's not your planned run. Maybe it's not quarter repeats that you were supposed to do that day, but maybe even if you get in like a 10-minute run, a 20-minute run, it's not the hour that you were planning on, but it's something.
Yeah.
And that can help you feel better mentally. Like physically, it's not going to do that much more for you, to be honest, versus just taking an off day. But mentally, it might give you that encouragement.
Right. And so that really depends on you. And that's why the first move is relax and think about what you want to do with this. Is it going to be a recovery day, or have you not quite made it to the point that if you just take this as a full off day, is there still going to be that little voice of judgment in there? So if there is, there are options of how to put some sort of focused activity into your day that's not going to take a huge amount of time, that you don't have to go out there and get all like into your workout clothes and all sweaty and shower afterwards. You can put in something that you feel like, all right, that wasn't a 0 day. I got in something on that day.
Yeah, it's helpful as a physical therapist. I've got like bands and like all sorts of fun equipment that I can like just jump in and do some like rows or some squats.
I have a shirt and tie on. So again, awkward planking when the student walked into my classroom.
All right. So kind of take a look, see about that. Next, we want you to think about the big picture, okay? Let's just refocus on your why, because this is really what it all comes down to. And this is why we're doing what we're doing, right? Because running is so much more than just the miles that you cover in a day, a week, a season, a year. Running is more than just paces and workouts. Running is what makes you a better person. It makes you. It makes you stronger. It makes you more confident. It makes you feel more in charge of your life and the choices that you make. And that's why I loved the other post that I put up this week, which was, after a good run, I feel blank. And the words that were coming in from that post were absolutely wonderful and inspiring. There was a lot of strong, confident, like I can take on the world, like those kinds of things. Like, let's get back to that.
Yeah, the juxtaposition of the two posts was weird because people, if you missed a day, you were like catastrophic failure, and yet if you had a really good workout, you were superhuman. And it was such an extreme on both of them. And it's like, look, one great run is awesome if that inspires you, that it's gonna help you feel great for the next good run, but one off run, one run where you don't feel good or you completely miss the run is not so terrible either. And one great run is not going to be the thing that makes you have the PR.
Yeah.
Like it's still just one. And, well, I want to say, yes, that's a positive. I think when you push the great workout to such I feel like a superhuman level, then it forces the extreme on the other one almost. That if I miss my run, then I'm a total failure. Because if I hit it great, I'm a superhuman.
Right. Yeah, that makes good sense. And I see what you're going for here about how it basically pushes the extremes in either direction.
Right, to try and balance yourself out.
Right. And so what if we just took kind of a more moderate approach for this? And we're not saying to tamper down the amount of joy and, strength and confidence you feel. That's exactly what we want you to feel. But we also want you to feel that on the days that you don't run, even on unplanned rest days. You should still feel strong and confident and in charge of your life, even if you missed that run. Like maybe you weren't in charge that day. Maybe you missed it and that wasn't within your control, but you still are in control or in charge of the other choices that you make throughout the day and of your life in general. Like you can choose to jump back into running and jump right back into your plan the next day.
Right. You get to make the choice on how to react the rest of that day too. Like if you missed your run in the morning, you then get to decide. You are in charge of making the choice of, am I going to try and fit that into the day? Or is today going to be an off day? But beyond just the rescheduling thing, you get to choose how you show up the rest of the day. Do you show up off for the rest of the day because you missed a run in the morning? Like, are you completely like 3 levels down from where you should be in everything else that you're doing in your life because you happen to miss a run in the morning? Because that's not what you should be getting out of running. Like running has good and bad days. Like there are days where you go out for a run and it doesn't feel good. And there's days where you go out for a run and you feel great. And either day, you still need to get the run in. Like you've got other things going on in your life. You've got work, you've got family, you've got friends and all this stuff. And having a day where you didn't get in a great run does not mean that you can't show up for your family. You still have to do that. The same way that when you go off on a run and it starts poorly, you still have to show up for the rest of the run. You can't just, and I'm done. I guess I'm calling it quits. That's not how it works.
I mean, some people do that though. Some people choose to cut their run short, and there are some times that it is okay to do that.
Yes.
Depending on what's going on. Like, I had a friend that ran the other day even though she was sick, and it turns out she had the flu. Like, that's an okay day to call it, cut that run short and maybe give yourself a little bit of a break.
Yes, okay, I'll give you that one.
Right, I mean, there are some times that running is not the best choice for you on that given day, and I think that it's hard to pull back and actually realize that, recognize that, and take a step back from it.
Right, but it is still ultimately your choice of whether you're going to take the step back from running or you're going to push through. Right. Whether you push through a workout or whether you start getting tired, the workout starts getting hard, and you pull back, because there's going to be times in your life that things start getting hard and you have to decide whether you're pushing through or whether you're pulling back on that. And there's going to be things that maybe the outside world could perceive as a failure, but you're a runner and you've accepted that failure is not a thing. Like, it's just not. Failure is what happens when you just stop. And maybe you had an off day, but that's not a failure. That was just one day. You're going to be able to get back on it the next day. That's the same thing that happens in the rest of your life. It wasn't a failure. It was just a hiccup along the road. Right,
because ultimately you need to take these lessons from running and help them to create the version of you that you are the most satisfied with, the version of you that you want to be. Like, how do you want to show up in your life? Do you want to grit it out and push through when things get hard? Do you want to pull back and just kind of shrink down? And realizing also that there might be a different answer on a different day.
Oh, like, completely.
There are some times that you're going to want to just put your head down and just grind it out, and just meet that challenge head on, regardless of what those paces are, what the time is. And there are times that if you're not feeling it that day, it is the better choice for you to pull back and maybe ditch the workout that day and make it an easy run, or there's other things, but it's what you're doing on a consistent basis. Like, consistently, when it gets hard, what are you doing? Are you, getting in and stepping on the gas pedal, or are you pulling back and just letting yourself off the hook? It's what you're doing day in and day out on a consistent basis, how you're showing up both in your running and in your life.
I think when you're presented with these off days, it helps to see where you're focusing. Like, are you focusing on what you cannot do that day, or are what you focusing on what you can still accomplish that day? It reminds me of something I heard on a podcast the other week, and it was about gratitude. And they said that gratitude is really, it's easy to be grateful for things that are positive in your life. Like, oh, I'm so grateful for the beautiful sunrise I saw. I'm grateful for my child's hug. Well, of course you are. But how grateful are you for things that are negative, that you could see as a misstep, that you could see as a difficult situation? I have certain students that are difficult to handle on a day in, day out basis. Am I grateful for them? Are you stuck in traffic? Can you be grateful for the traffic? Can you say, I am grateful that all of this traffic is here because it is teaching me how to be patient and stay calm in this situation. A coworker came in and they were talking with me, and I had stuff that I really needed to accomplish, but it was important that I talked with them. And I was grateful for my relationship with that coworker. It taught me empathy. Things that seem like they're not exactly what you were hoping was going to happen, can you still be grateful for that? Because that's real gratitude. Like, that's not, oh, I'm grateful for that flower because it's pretty. Of course you are. It's a beautiful flower. Can you be grateful for the challenge?
It's hard. That is something that's hard. I think that is something that we can all aspire to, but I think that it's also very difficult, and it can also be something that feels fake at first, I want to say, because
totally,
like if you're sitting in traffic and you're feeling yourself getting frustrated, it's like the old, what is it, Stuart Smalley, is that his name, on Saturday Night Live? The I am good enough.
Yes.
Isn't that his name?
Yep.
So it's like, the positive affirmations and the gratitude, saying it out loud, like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. Like, I am grateful for this traffic right now. You feel like a little cheesy saying it. Like, you're not quite sure if you believe it. But quite frankly, if you're saying it and if you're telling yourself that, then your subconscious mind believes it.
Just keep saying it.
Just keep saying it, because what's the worst that can happen? Like, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that. Like, you might not want to say it in front of other people yet, but if you can say it, out loud to yourself in your car by yourself, and the more positive messages that you start feeding your brain, the better off you're going to be. Like, you might feel cheesy, you might feel awkward at first, and it is weird. Like, it can feel uncomfortable at first when you start to do these positive types of affirmations, or these gratitude for, like you said, like the missteps or the things that don't appear to be positive at the beginning, because it just feels like you're faking it sometimes. And I'm the last person that wants to ever be fake or disingenuous. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in people. And so that is definitely not a quality that I ever want anyone to say about me. So I understand this, because I have felt this way before, but sometimes you just have to keep pushing through, and you have to keep giving yourself these messages, even if it does feel fake at first. But just keep them to yourself. Do them in the bathroom, do them with the door closed when no one's home, do them in your car when you're by yourself. And the more you start to feed yourself these positive messages and start to reprogram the messages that you're telling yourself, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, traffic is a great example of this because often you're in your car by yourself, and so you can say pretty much whatever you want. And some people say some real negative things towards the other drivers around them.
The funny thing is when you say it like something in gratitude, but like with an angry tone of voice, right?
Well, I just think it's really satisfying to say nice things to other people in traffic, like the guy that cuts you off. Thank you for not hitting my front bumper. I really appreciate that because I thought that you were going to ding the front left corner. Oh, thank you. You think I'm number one, apparently. Like, thank you for the message.
You think I'm number one.
Thank you for the message that you're sending forth. Or, when the person's honking at you from behind and you're not going anywhere because it's just stop and go, standstill traffic in front of you, thank you for your support. I appreciate that you are encouraging me to move forward. Like, put it out there. And it sounds so weird, but you're in the car by yourself. And what else are you going to do other than amuse yourself?
Right.
So send thank yous and gratitudes out there. And see how you're going to finish that sentence. Thank you. Thank you for this off day that has been thrust upon me by oversleeping because my body needs the recovery day and I need to take a little mental recovery for myself.
For sure. And right there, that just proves how gratitude can change your mindset. It can change the world. It can change everything about, the way that you show up in your life and treat yourself. So that is definitely a good place for us to start. All right, so I think that pretty much wraps up what we have. Be kind to yourself, practice self-love, practice self-gratitude, and your life is going to be so much better. So along those lines, that takes us wonderfully right into our runner of the week, when we want to highlight some amazing runners out there that are doing great things.
Yeah, and they're doing great things with a big giant smile on their face.
Oh, that's for sure. And this runner of the week is definitely one of those people. She is one of those people that just shows up. She, even if she's not racing, if she's not running, she's always there to cheer on her friends, to cheer on her fellow runners. She's got a cowbell and she's got signs and she's always there to cheer other people on. And she does all of it with a big smile on her face. And she's just one of those people that you have to feel good when you're around her.
Yeah, no, it's
just
a given.
A very positive person. So our runner of the week this week is Natalie Bonilla. Congratulations. We are so happy to honor you this week as runner of the week. And when we reached out to Natalie and let her know that we had chosen her, this is what she said. If you ask me if I was expecting to be featured, I would have said, no way. We push ourselves so hard that we don't realize all the things we do because they become a part of our lives. I am still thinking how to sum up in a few lines all of the wonderful life lessons that I have received from the Real Life Runners. I have been consistently running for 2 years, and I started with Real Life Runners podcast and academy after the Key West Half Marathon in 2019. Real Life Runners has given me the power to understand how to treat my body better and maximize my runs, how to slow down, appreciate every run easy when is needed, run hard when it's desired, to take a moment to pause, reassess, recalibrate, and continue our lives in a healthy way. I have been injury-free in the last few months, and I don't feel as sore every day as I used to last year because of their advice.
Angie and Kevin have transmitted to me the value of self-love and love for others, teaching me that we are capable of many things, that not every day can be the best, but it counts in the end, that we are strong, that we need to believe in ourselves, that no matter what, we are humans and we are real-life runners, that I am a real runner. Finally, Real Life Runners has encouraged me to be a hero, the hero in my journey where we have to find our way to be better as a person, as a human, and as an athlete. Now let's go find our way.
So congratulations, Natalie. Thank you so much for all of the trust that you've placed in us, for always being a part of the Real Life Runners and spreading the Real Life Runners love. We appreciate you and we honor you this week, and we thank you for being such a good example for all the other runners around you. So we want to thank you guys, as always, for spending this time with us. We appreciate you. We appreciate you listening. Thank you to everyone that's left us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast station. We appreciate that, and that helps us to reach more people every week. So thank you. This has been the Real Life Runners Podcast, episode number 130. Now get out there and run your life. Do you find yourself missing your workouts, always putting others first and running around in circles because there simply aren't enough hours in the day to do everything you need to do?
Have you ever found yourself stuck in a seemingly endless cycle of injury, frustrated by your lack of progress and searching for answers?
How many hours have you spent online, scrolling through social media and comparing yourself to other people who seem to have the life and the results that you're looking for?
If this sounds like you, we're guessing you probably also feel anxious, stressed, stuck, hopeless, wondering when something is going to give, when things are going to improve, and wondering why it seems so easy for others and so hard for you.
You might even say to yourself, I'm not a real runner, I'm lazy, or maybe this just isn't for me. And if you do find the time to work out, do you find yourself feeling guilty for taking time away from your family or the other things that you should be doing, or losing sleep just so that you can fit it all in? You just can't win sometimes.
We get it. We've been there too. These struggles are not only affecting your physical health, but your mental health as well. And if you continue down this path, where is it going to lead?
More stress, more pain, more sickness, chronic diseases, a life that is not your own, stuck in a life of mediocrity and dissatisfaction, feeling resentment towards yourself and others.
What would it feel like to stop this nasty cycle in its tracks and to take control of your life and your health once and for all?
What would it be like to run consistently without injury, to run faster, run longer, feel better, and achieve things you never realized possible, to feel motivated, happy, confident, and strong?
To be more present in every aspect of your life, as a mother, a father, a spouse, a friend, with an inner sense of peace and satisfaction, knowing that you are taking care of yourself, living your life on your terms, and making the world a better place.
That's what our Real Life Runners Training Academy is all about. It's designed to help you take charge and go from running in circles to running your life. It will help you to train smarter and more effectively to achieve the results you are looking for without the burnout and overwhelm.
You will understand how to prioritize the things that will actually move you forward and stop wasting your time and effort on less important things. You'll master the mental strategies you need, not only to be a better runner, but also to show up better in all aspects of your life.
The lessons we learn from running can help us to be better in all aspects, to inspire others, to make a greater impact in this world. By taking charge of your health and your running, you will feel more energized and motivated for everything else in your life, because running shows you that you are strong, that you are capable, that you can do hard things.
So are you ready to get started? Sign up for our waitlist today. Take the first steps towards running your life. Go to yourrunningplan.com right now to reserve your spot.